guys, I just wanted to say before I start the video, thanks for watching, and also that this is going to be the first video in a series of videos where I go through and beat all the Christmas bots. So I'm just going to start with the lowest rated one and then work my way up to the highest, and then just analyze every game. So I just wanted to let you guys know what my plans were for the next few videos, and thanks for watching. Okay, so I'm going to be going against Mr. Powder here, rated 700. He's going to start with the white pieces, and he goes knight f3 first. So just off the bat here, the move I can't obviously do is e5, because then he can just take the pawn for free. And although this is a gambit, it's not a very good idea to play this move for black to play e5, because it already gives white a pretty big advantage just for the opening. So want to avoid playing e5, so what I end up playing is d5, and this just kind of has a pawn, gets a pawn out in the center of the board, and it just kind of avoids playing that. It just gets a piece out. I didn't want to kind of copy him, play any knight moves, because I wanted to grab the center. I didn't want him to be able to go e4. I mean, he can go here, but then I'll just play something like c6 or something like that. So I played d5, and then he goes e4 anyway. And this is a strange move because, I mean, it is actually an opening. It's a Tennyson gambit, ready opening. So the idea of this gambit is to gambit the pawn, which I do take the pawn. The idea is to take the pawn, and then the white pieces get this attack. And this is what Mr. Powder plays, which is the best move, because what it does is it puts pressure on this weak f pawn, and then it also threatens the pawn on e4. So this is a strong move. And this next move here, there's two options, two good options anyway, that you can play here to kind of save the pawn. One of them being knight to f6, and the other one being bishop to f5. And the one that's better is bishop to f5, because the whole idea of the Tennyson gambit here is to not only get this knight on g5, but it's also to a few moves later to be able to play this move. And this move wouldn't be able to work if I had played bishop to f5, because now you just have this easy pawn push, pawn to e6, and now this knight doesn't have any. It has nowhere it can really go. I mean, one place it can go is back to there, and you don't want to have your knight on the edge of the board. It's kind of a bad place to have your knights. You just want to have them in the center of the board. So that's what I should have played, and that also makes it to where the bishop has no more range, so there's really no place for the bishop to attack. But instead of playing bishop f5, what I end up playing is knight f6, and this is not the best option, not only because what I was just talking about, but also because now after Mr. Potter plays the same move, and it's considered the best move for white, the game's still even, because now I have two options, which this is, I'll just show you the worst one first. I can play here to keep the light square bishop from attacking my f pawn, but then that results in him taking, and then me taking, and then him regaining the material, so he gets back the pawn that he gambited at the beginning of the game. And then he also has an advantage of 0.6, so you don't want to do that move. And the move that you should do is the one that I did, where you push the pawn forward. And the reason why the knight move was an inaccuracy, because now this light square bishop, it's kind of trapped in the back. I mean, you can move it here and then there, but you still have to play two moves just to get it out. Whereas if I had played here to begin with, the light square bishop's already out. So once he plays this, And then once I play that, and then maybe he castles, then I can still move my knight out, and then both my bishop and my knight are both out. Whereas now, because I played the moves in a different order, and I have to push that pawn forward to defend, my light square bishop's just now stuck in the back. So it's not as good for black. And then next move, he blunders, and it's not a like a piece blunder. He didn't blunder a piece. What he blunders is the idea of the gambit that he played. The idea of the gambit is to continue pressuring my king side and to keep putting attacks on the king. So the reason why this was a pretty bad move was because not only that, but because there's no attack just doing this. What this is just it's kind of like a defense move, you know. And he doesn't really need to defend because I'm on the defense right now. I'm on the defensive side. I have to defend this pawn because he's attacking it, and I have to defend from his knight and his bishop getting to the f pawn. So I'm on the defensive side. So what he should have done is move. The computer saying he should have done this because this keeps the attacks going on this pawn, and so then I have to find some way to keep him away from that pawn or just let it go, and then he has a big advantage because he has so many pieces out. So that's what he should have played, but he misses that idea of just continuing to attack, and so he just castles. And so I see that as an opportunity to kick away one of his stronger pieces right now. So I push the pawn, consider the best move because it kicks away the attack. And so now the only place his knight can move back to is on this h3 square that I had already said previously that it's not good to be on because it's just the edge of the board. That's not really helping out very much over there. But being Mr. Powder rated 700, he doesn't play that. He plays d4. And this is really bad for him because this just gives me his knight almost for free. It's not totally free, but it is the best move. And so I take the knight, and what he has here, it's not much, but the best option for him here is to take the pawn back. And that's because this gets a pin on the knight. So I can't move the knight. It's kind of stuck there. And so then because it's stuck there, then he could maybe start, attacking this pawn because there's no defense on the pawn. He can't really take my rook out if his knight's pinned to the queen. So that would have been a strong idea for him maybe to try and just get back in the game. And also there's no h-pawn for me to try and kick his bishop away. And if I try something like this, then that's just a total blunder because now like if he takes, then he's threatening my queen and he's also threatening my rook. So he just took a knight, and so then I would kind of have to take the bishop or lose my queen, and then he would just get the rook, and he would actually be up in exchange. Or if I decided to just move the queen, then he would get a rook. So at that point, I wouldn't want to move my rook up because that would just be a blunder in the position, and also, he would just get back in the game. So, but he doesn't play that. That would have been the best idea. He doesn't play it. He just moves his queen up, and maybe what he's trying to do is just get a more powerful piece to take the pawn. I don't really know what's going through his brain here. Probably not too much. But maybe he's also trying to do this. It might be a strong idea where you put the queen and the rook together to have more power and push the pawn later. That could work to open up the d file some more. Both strong ideas, that and the bishop taking the pawn, but you didn't really see that. So I just move my dark squared bishop out, and I move it out on a square that is that's going to be the most helpful to me. I move it on a square that is double attacked now. So he has to deal with this double attack on the h2 pawn. And easiest way to do that is to just move there or something like that. Um, but he doesn't do that. He just kind of ignores it, and you don't want to ignore threats like this because they could end up being really costly. I mean, it just looks like a pawn, just taking a pawn, but it's not just a pawn because after I take the pawn, which is the best move because it forces the king to h1. After I take the pawn, he has to move. Then this bishop can move to any of these squares. And the reason why that is because once I move this bishop, then there's a discovered attack on the king. So if I say move the bishop here, then the king is in check, and so he has to move back over here. And so that's just a free move for the bishop because this pawn can't attack it. This pawn can't attack the bishop because the king has to move. So knowing that, after he moves here, then I saw a very strong idea of moving here because that way I can win the queen because he has to move. He has to move back now. There's no other way of doing that, getting out of check. So, and then next move I just take the queen. And the computer's saying that I should have moved back here and then moved here and then moved there. And then after he moves back, something like this, I think. Or actually, no, the computer's just saying to continue this process of just after he moves, then just not there, then just move here and then, or take the queen. But I don't know. The computer's like being confusing because it's saying that this is the best move and stuff. There's a lot of strong ideas is the thing, and but obviously the one that makes the most sense is to move here and then take the queen. So that's what I do. He takes my bishop back. And then I have another opportunity to start an attack on him. And I do that by moving the queen to d6. Because now this does the same exact thing I was doing with the bishop and the rook, but now there's actually a threat of checkmate. So he avoids checkmate in a very interesting way. He just moves his rook over to the b file. And the way this avoids checkmate is because now if I do this, then he can move here, and then if I do this, he can move there, and then if I do that, then I really have no clear way of checkmating him. Even the computer here is saying that there's like they're not showing a mate in like 4 or 5. There's no actual clear way of winning at this point. I mean, obviously my position's winning, but I want a clear way of winning. So what I do in here instead is seeing that I can't really just chase him around and win after like 20 moves, I just add another attacker. So I bring my knight to g4, which is considered the best move because it just adds another attacker. There's a threat on this pawn now. Also, if I move here now, and he moves, and then I move, and then he's forced to go over here, then I can take the pawn, and then I'm also threatening to pick up this f2 pawn next move and stuff. So there's just more threats, and he doesn't really try and figure it out at all. I mean, maybe he could move here. This is considered the best move for him, g3, but it's still there's really not much he can do in this position because his pieces are all on the right side and his king's just left unguarded on the left side. So he just takes the pawn that he should have taken this pawn like a long time ago, when my knight was still on f6 and my queen was still on d8. But he just blunders the game basically because now there's a mate in 2, and it's actually a sacrifice into checkmate because you can bring the rook up to h1. And what that does is that forces, there's no way for the king to escape, so that forces the king to take because there's no other move. And then I just have this nice checkmate with the queen and the knight in the corner of the board. So that was Mr. Powder's best, but wasn't really expecting too much at this point. I mean, he's only rated 700, but still, you know. So thanks guys for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.